the SML podcast, playing the field driven 007. Today I'm joined with QB Stud. How's it going, dude?
Hello, how are you?
We're back. It's been a while since we've hopped on the podcast together. I just want to touch base with you on a couple things. One, I think today we can do something a little bit different to start. I kind of want to have, every time I get a guest, or every time you hop on, kind of give some tips or advice. And this time I want defensive tips because I'm struggling on defense. I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there with Madden 21 that are struggling to play defense. So what are some things that we can do to improve our defensive game?
So there's a couple of things. The first one being that this cycle, they kind of changed how DB and wide receiver interactions work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have someone over the top of the route, the defender gets priority on animations, which really sucks for me because my entire offensive philosophy is built off of taking advantage of holes in zone defense.
Right.
And a lot of those holes are right underneath defenders. Unfortunately, though, those aren't actual holes in this game as it is currently. So if you can have your defense set up to where you have guys behind and then let them roam, then that allows them to break on balls and get interceptions. So that's how you cover the deep stuff. But I think people figure that out on offense pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So more often than not, what guys are doing to take advantage of the defense is they're doing level concepts on the outside. Whether they realize it or not, it's what they're doing. And so what that means is they're attacking the outside part of the defense at about the 0 to 5 yard line or 0 to 5 yard depth mark, and then at about the 10 to 20 mark. So that 10 to 20 mark is a hole that has existed in Madden defenses for as long as I've played the game, which has been a while. However, for whatever reason, the defenders seem to be wishy-washy on which one they take, or they completely hard commit to one. So that makes it to where guys have one-read offenses, and so it's really easy to take advantage of. There's a couple of ways you can do it. First off, you can say, okay, I'm going to give you the underneath stuff, and eventually I'm willing to bet you're going to bite and try to force it on the over-the-top, and that's where interceptions happen. That's where a lot of mine happen.
Right.
Or the way that they do it, again, like the way that guys go where you fight cheese with cheese is you have a flat cover defender and then you have an outside hook defender. And so that way you have one covering the underneath, one covering the outside. So you or one covering the over the top. So that way you have one on both. In cover 2, that safety is supposed to take up that responsibility.
The safeties suck in cover 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. For whatever reason, even if you force the adjustment, they don't do it.
I had that. I don't mean to cut you off. I just had that happen against the Bears. He had a touchdown in the second half, and it was within 20, 25 yard range to the end zone. So, obviously your gaps are a lot smaller. So you would assume that the safety would be able to just play forward to be a simple play. And he literally didn't react until, no, I said the word literally. He just didn't make the play until he caught the ball and turned it up and was nearly in the end zone before the safety attempted to tackle him. So I think the safety plays have always been garbage, especially with the cover 2.
Yeah, and they've just made safety play so much more important too because of that over-the-top situation that I talked about before. If you have great safeties, it's really easy to play this game on defense, to be honest. But if you don't, you're going to get tore up.
Defense is definitely a hot commodity. It'd be interesting to see what guys figured out. I mean, there's big numbers that get put up each and every week. Guys dropping 30, 40 points a game almost routinely, and that wasn't the case last cycle. So I think the next biggest topic in the SML is the 16-time SML champion, primetime 0-0-0-0-0-0-0, is struggling right now. He's 1-4. Offense, I mean, his passing yards are 8th, but a lot of times I guess you're playing behind or whatever. His defense has been terrible. He's allowing 30 points per game, 337 yards per game. And offense, he's only averaging 23. And he's middle of the pack or dead last. Like, his rushing yards are not there. He's only averaging 58 yards a game, which at the end of last cycle, he's one of the best running teams because of Ziegler and the abilities that he had. And right now, without the abilities, it doesn't seem he's figured it out. And also, I think another thing they've implemented this year is middle linebackers just don't have the same impact. So is that what you're seeing out of primetime, or if you've seen anything out of him, or what do you think, what would you attribute his struggles to being so far?
I have 3 theories. I know you love, really long, drawn-out theories with lots of detail, right?
Yes.
One, which is the least likely, is that he's just tanking, trying to develop his young guys, get an early draft pick, and
Trevor
then make him.
Lawrence, baby.
Yeah, just make sure he's set for the rest of the cycle. He loaded up with another first round pick from Defraud. So he may just be stockpiling right now, tanking this season, developing his quarterback and running back. I mean, he said Taylor has gained like 5 or 8 or something change of direction already this season.
Yeah.
And that was really his only flaw as a running back. So he's in a position where he's got young guys that he can focus on and then worry about the rest later. That could be it. That's probably the least likely. The next one is that his offensive game plan is actually really similar to mine in that he's expecting these holes, I think, to open up over the top, especially with that post, and they're just not this cycle. And so he's being forced to look elsewhere because he knows it's not open. And so it's just a matter of adapting with a quarterback that is going to punish you if you're not, doing things the way that it's supposed to be. And then finally, just to address your run situation, last cycle especially, but really for as long as I can remember, until Toss was king, or after Toss was king, inside zone has been king. And we all know Prime loves his inside zone, and it's
Right.
just not as strong this cycle
No.
as the power runs are. So his run game is naturally going to take a hit from not running the best run play, whereas he was before. Um, Now that wouldn't necessarily lead to the big drop that it's been, but it's definitely going to hurt him.
So you'd say the power O's, the strong power, those are the type of runs guys should be running right now.
Well, so I'm running them, but that's because I have really good lead block guards. So all pulling plays are what my team is suited to run, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had tons of success. I love it, and I'm not going to change.
My offensive
So I've
line's
kind of
garbage.
what's that?
My offensive line is garbage, so it's kind of
Gotcha.
a
Yeah, my
struggle.
right side is really strong, and my left guard is garbage, but he has a really good lead block. So I'm like, well, the only way he's going to be useful to me is if he's pulling. So I'm just running powers and tosses, and now he's all of a sudden really good, even though he's like a 68 overall and has crap stats. So being able to understand where your holes are and how to hide them is obviously going to be important.
So my next topic I had is about your boy Paulie. I was going to talk a little bit about the rivalry between you two, where it started, and what do you attribute his success to being right now with the Dolphins in the position that they are in right now?
So Pauly is running a very systematic offense and
He's
defense.
number one on defense, number one points per game, yards and passing yards, and seventh against the run.
Not gonna lie, I haven't watched more than about a minute. I think I watched a minute of his game versus Bomber.
Yeah.
But from what I'm picking up and from what I know he did last cycle is on defense he runs very, very conservative defenses. But okay, so basically what he does is he runs a conservative defense but adjusts them aggressively, if that makes sense. So he puts them in aggressive positions, but then has them play conservatively. So you kind of get you're able to take advantage of certain things on off or that the offense is doing, but at the same time you're having them take a step back so that they can't be taken advantage of, and that confuses a lot of guys, especially the ones that want to just huck it, chuck it, and pray. And so he's going to be able to stop you in the air and on the ground if you're not ready for that. As far as offense goes, he's running his tried and true stretch from, again, the little bit that I've watched of him, making sure that he just gets the ball into his speed running back's hand and have them take off as soon as possible.
Dick. All right. So I guess that takes me to the last point would be just kind of your league impression so far. Where do you think we're at right now in terms of gameplay or whatever? What do you think the league's at right now with Madden 21 wise compared to where we were at Madden 20? Just what have you seen? What are some things that you like, some things you dislike?
I mean, well, first and foremost, the league is in such a better place as far as gameplay goes, just in trying to achieve a sim gameplay
Mm-hmm.
than it was when I started last cycle. And we're at the beginning of the cycle. Part of that's because we've been able to retain most of the guys. Guys we've brought in are solid, so it kind of helps make sure there's no drop off. There's always going to be complaints, and I voiced those complaints privately, both to admin and to the individuals. So I'm not trying to air out dirty laundry necessarily, but there's always going to be complaints, as I've been reminded multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
We can always get better, but I'm still happy with where they're at. That's not going to stop me from complaining when it needs to be complained about, but definitely still happy with where we're at. As far as talent goes, I mean, you can look at the standings and say, just looking at the guys that have wins, the guys that don't have as many wins but have still
Yeah.
been in games, talent wise, I think we're in a great spot. We've definitely got a lot of guys that can play, from 1 to 32 in this league.
Actually, I have a couple of things I want to talk about. and I forgot to write those down, so I just remembered. Do you feel we need a stat cap inside the SML just to keep things more realistic or keep certain things within check? I mean, you got running backs that are having a once in a lifetime game just about every week. What's your opinion on that?
So I've had this conversation a couple of times with different guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there should ever be a hard stat cap, but there should be a soft stat cap in that anytime a certain number is reached that's above the soft cap, an investigation, like a private investigation, should be opened automatically. And if there's a reason behind the excess numbers, then it's like, okay. But if it's just you're just trying to ride that dude because that's your game plan, then that's a problem, right?
Right,
Like if you've got a running back like Greer was last cycle where you're just running him every single play and you're down, then there needs to be punishment.
right,
If like McCaffrey against me when Royce beat me, like he had a ton of yardage, but it's because he was up big and he just needed to grind the clock out. Like that's not a problem. I think he ended up with over 200 rushing yards, but it's because he was trying to grind the clock out. Now you could argue that you can put in a backup or something like that, but that's so far down on my list of things I want to complain about that I'm not even going to bring that up right now.
Is there anything else that you want to cover today, or anything you want to get off your chest?
Um, Man, unfortunately, I tend to have everything on, on my sleeve, and I don't keep stuff bottled up, so I usually let it out.
Mm-hmm.
um, if anybody wants to help me do some of the legwork on my analytics sheet, I'm trying to bust that out again. It's just, work's taking up a lot of my time to where I don't have the time to brute force a lot of these numbers, but I'll get it back eventually, and we can have everybody looking at the sheet and complaining about it and talking about how it's trash and whatever, but I don't care. I like it and I enjoy it.
Let's talk. I think we still have some time. I'm not quite to the 15-minute mark yet. I still got about 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Sacks are way down this season, which is great. I think that they were way too out there. Right now, Myles Garrett is the league leader with 6, and then you got Hurst and Bosa tied at 4. Do you think that the sacks are where they need to be, or that the pressure itself is not there? Or what are your opinion on the pass rush?
I'm ecstatic with where pass rush is. The sacks are exactly where they should be, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And the deal is pass rush is not just did I get the sack or not. It's pressure, like you said. And like I just played a game where Herbert had to throw out of pressure like 6 times, and so I'm trying to take the risk of throwing the ball before the sack, so I'm getting sacked less. But because of that, I threw a couple of interceptions, and that's real life. That's how that happens in reality. Like NFL quarterbacks do not force the ball as often as we do on Madden. So when
Right.
interceptions happen, it's because of pressure. So we're getting that same pressure now. And if you look at it, the sack numbers are almost on par with the interception numbers, which is, fairly realistic, especially when you remember that, these are just Madden armchair quarterbacks and they don't make reads sometimes and they just kind of force stuff. So interceptions are naturally going to be high. I'm ecstatic with where the pass rush is in this cycle. I hope they don't touch blocking at all. Run game is strong, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
overpowered, and it's still not as strong as the passing game. And then you're still going to have pressure. You're still going to have sacks. Nothing's just going to overwhelm you or blow it out. So I sincerely hope they don't touch blocking, rushing, or shedding.
So ZZ is 2-3 right now with the Chiefs. This I'll actually leave as my final point. We'll talk about ZZ because he was in the top 10 power rank. Right now he's kind of struggling. He's kind of finding his footing now though. He's number 4 with passing yards and number 5 total yards. He does have Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has 1,338 yards, 11 touchdowns, 7 sacks, and 9 interceptions so far. His running game, Damian Williams only 300 yards on the ground. And then you look at his receivers. Tyreek Hill, 686 yards, 9 touchdowns, which is almost all of Mahomes' touchdowns so far. 686 yards, 9 touchdowns. The next receiver would be Damian Williams, 220 yards and 0 touchdowns. He's thrown a touchdown to Kelsey and a touchdown to Demarcus Robinson. So to me, this is my little. I've done the same thing for Haas when Haas was the Chiefs last year because a lot of guys seem to lose themselves when they start playing with these abilities or they get on these cute teams and they really just try to force feed certain things. And it feels like ZZ's gotten away from his game plan. He's really just trying to, and he even said that in the last time he was in a podcast where people said that you don't use your star players enough. Well, now it feels like he's using them too much and he's not spreading the ball around. I mean, you can just look at it. He's got a couple of checkdowns here and there to Damian Williams on some screenplays probably, and he's just not spreading the wealth. And obviously he's forcing the ball too much when your touchdown is 11 and your interceptions are 9. What would be your tips to success for ZZ the Great?
All right, so I'm gonna kind of give a positive, negative, positive sandwich here because that's what you're supposed to do anytime you want someone to listen to you.
Yeah.
First off, for the positive, people, Coop in particular, have been complaining about Bazooka. In my limited experience with ZZ, including playing him once,
Mm-hmm.
Bazooka hasn't been the issue at
No.
all. Like it's really flashy and it looks really colorful because
Right.
like the X is all glowy and stuff.
Yeah.
Bazooka is not the problem. It looks kind of dumb sometimes when you throws it a billion yards on strike. That's not
That's
the problem.
Mahomes.
No, yeah,
That's
like
like the
I
one
don't.
ability I don't have an issue with, like the Duke can chuck it 90 yards. Like who gives a shit? What's bad
Oh,
was the escape artist last year, or human joystick, or spin cycle. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, yeah, and I appreciate your input there, but yeah, ZZ like have zero worries about Bazooka. That's fine. Where ZZ's issue is he is overutilizing Hill and Mahomes in
Mm-hmm.
that when I played him, there was one play where I had Earl Thomas and I used him over the top of Tyreek Hill, and I was literally more than 10 yards past him, already turned and running deep, and he still tried to lob it deep to him. It got to the point where I was double covering him and then
Mm-hmm.
manually covering over the top, and he still threw it to him 15 times in that game. And he turned over the ball 6 times because I knew exactly what it was going to
Right.
do every
Just
single
on
time.
Tyreek.
Um, and then the other problem is that what he'll do is if you move the middle linebacker to do that, he'll just have Damian Williams run an angle route, and then so he continues to use that same concept over and over and over again. So that's kind of the bad in the sandwich. But now the good
Yeah.
is that it looks like he started to get away from that slightly, mostly with Travis Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
So Travis Kelsey is obviously a great weapon that he has that he can
Sure.
add onto that Tyreek arsenal. I have no problem with him sending Tyreek Hill on a go route literally every play, to be honest, because that's his skill set. My problem is when you throw it every single time, no matter what. So keep sending Hill on those streaks. I couldn't care less, to be honest. I don't think you're supposed to by the rules, but me personally, I don't care. Only throw it if it's open though. So continue to utilize Kelsey, and then I want to see him use Hardman more. Like Hardman only has 6 catches on the season already. I actually reached out to him and tried to trade him for Hardman,
Mm-hmm.
and he said no. Basically, I threw the kitchen sink at him, and he still said no. So I'm hoping that means that he's ready to start opening up this offense a little bit more and utilizing some of his other weapons. And if he does that, A, he's going to be better, and B, people are going to have less things to
P.
complain about. And I'm excited to see what he does with this talented offense.
It'd be interesting to see how he finishes. Who ends up top on the AFC West? You guys have a pretty tough division. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I know a lot of guys complain when we get long-winded. We're at almost 18 minutes, so I appreciate everyone that tuned in. I do apologize. I know someone's gonna talk shit because I walked off camera 2 or 3 times. I got this damn dog out, and he's not potty trained, so I keep trying to make sure he's not getting any mischief. Check us out, simmaddenleague.com. I'm not sure if we have any spots at the primer or not. Last time I checked, I think they were almost full or were full, so that's
Yeah,
good.
we've got like a 15-man waiting list.
Really? That's
Yeah.
cool. So that's awesome. If you're interested, check us out, simmaddenleague.com. Check us out, Zazzle, if you want some merch. That chilled mug's really nice. I know Raiders not here to enjoy it, but we've got all kinds of good products on there. Check us out, Zazzle. daddyleagues.com/SML. If you're in the league, make sure you're tagging at Sim Madden League with your tweets that you're sending out your tweets. You want them owner evaluations to be good because if you do podcasts, you tweet your stuff out, you get up high in the team selection. That way you can get a good team. It's always important. We're heading towards PS5 steamrolling. I've got my pre-order, bitches. Let's go. We've got PS5 coming. That'll be another topic another time, whether or not it'll be any better on PS5. Let's hope so. But so far, I'd say Madden 21's been generally a better game than Madden 20. Good luck to the rest of my opponents out there. TB12's on the way. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great day.